it's 2025. Can you believe it? I want to welcome you all back to the Rotary Club of Fort Worth. It's legendary. We'll begin our program with the invocation led by Charlie Johnson, Executive Director with the Texas Pastors for Children, and that'll be followed by our national anthem by Mr. Kevin Chikotsky. Just follow him on the screen. Thank you, Kevin, so much.
Brothers and sisters, the notable pastor Dietrich Bonhoeffer has been in the news lately. There's a movie out about his life, quite fictionalized. He wrote this prayer a long time ago. In fact, about a month before the Nazis hanged him. Let's pray together. Who am I? They often tell me I used to step from my cell's confinement calmly, cheerfully, firmly, like a squire from his country house. Who am I? They also told me I used to speak to my warders freely and friendly and clearly as though it were mine to command. Who am I? They also told me I bore the days of misfortune equably, smilingly, proudly, like one accustomed to win. Am I really then that which other men speak of, or am I only what I myself know of myself? Restless and longing and sick like a bird in a cage, struggling for breath as though hands were compressing my throat, yearning for colors, for flowers, for the voices of birds, powerlessly trembling for friends at an infinite distance, weary and empty at thinking, at praying, at making, faint and ready to say farewell to it all. Am I this or the other? Am I one person today and tomorrow another? Am I both at once? Before myself, a contemptible, woebegone weakling, and before others, a hypocrite? Or is something within me still like a beaten army fleeing in disorder from victory already achieved? Who am I? They haunt me, these lonely questions of mine. Whoever I am, thou knowest, O God, I am thine. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. National anthem.
Thank you all, Charlie and Kevin. Now to welcome today's visitors, Allison Ricks, President, Allison Ricks Incorporated.
Good afternoon. I'd like to welcome our guest today. Our first guest is Brenda Rios, who is the guest of Shannon Saldana. Next, we have Joe Marler, who is the guest of Kathy Sheffield. Chris Botvidson, guest of Michelle Krim. Welcome. Elise Cantu, guest of Adrian Cantu. Susan Watt, guest of Dawn Maribel. Shoshana Isker, guest of Kristen Sullivan. Joe Santelli, guest of Garrett Hadley. Carrie Hoods, guest of Chris Jordan. And then lastly, we have Leslie Nason, guest of J.R. LeBay.
Thank you, Allison. And now it is time to recite our four-way test. This is a roadmap for how we as Rotarians are to conduct our lives, not just here between the ringing of the bells, but every day with all of our interactions. Please join me in reciting our four-way test. First, second, third, good and better friendships, and fourth, be beneficial to you. Thank you, everyone. Great job. Now, as you know, relationships are key to everything we do. It is time for table talk. This is our opportunity to know one another better. Those of you sitting at the table. To lead us today is Abby Dudek, founder, Abbey Roads Communications. Abby, take it away.
Well, welcome back, everyone. I missed you. Glad to be back with everybody. So having to take 1 month off of Rotary, today we're going to talk amongst ourselves while we're building goodwill and better friendships. As you recall, each month we have allocated time for the members to connect in lieu of the newscast, but rest assured that's going to come back next week. So for the next 5 minutes, I want you to converse amongst yourselves and talk about what's one of the things you're excited about or looking forward to in the new year, either personally or professionally. All right, talk amongst yourselves. is up for discussions. You can, of course, continue your conversation after the meeting. Does anybody want to share? Want to share your goals, ambitions? Mr. Don, go for it, man.
I'd like to announce that Monday is Hokey Pokey Day. The right one's in, the left one's out.
Fun. Cool. Anybody else like to share? All right. No? Going once, going twice? And done. All right, it's all yours.
Thank you, Abby. Appreciate that. Okay, did anyone learn something new about someone at their table? Awesome, that's what it's about. Thank you. All right, everyone. And now for a few announcements. Announcements are coming. First up, naturally, is our Rotary at the Rodeo update. Please welcome Ms. Brenda Beveridge, founding steward with JPS, and Ed McGlynn, advisor with Champion Commercial Insurance.
Hello. I keep getting promoted every time I come up here for my job. I'm excited.
Well, howdy, folks. We're back.
Hey, Ed. I need some of this. Hey, Ed, so what's up with the social committee?
Brenda, I'm so glad you asked that. It's time for rodeo at the Rotary. Rotary at the rodeo.
That first one would be kind of fun. However, it might be a challenge to get a bunch of bulls and horses up here on the 12th floor. We could ask our Aurora, but you know what would be fun?
What's that?
If we saw Bob Mitchell on riding a bull.
Oh, yeah. And you know what? Chris Jordan would make a great rodeo clown.
Whoa! Ed wrote the script. So Ed, what are the details?
Brenda, I'm so glad you asked that. Our rodeo outing is going to be on Wednesday, January 29th. We will have a happy hour prior to the rodeo across the street at the Hotel Dryce from 5 o'clock to 7.
Nice.
It's right across from Dickey's Arena with food catered by Katrina Carpenter.
Yep.
It'll be $55 per person, includes a rodeo ticket and snacks at the Hotel Dryce, and it'll be a cash bar.
Ed,
What?
what about parking?
Brenda, I'm so glad you asked that. Everyone is responsible for their own parking for the event at one of the garages or wherever you can park.
Ed, is there anything else we need to know? You gave me the short lines today.
Okay. Brenda, I'm glad you asked that. But not really. Just get out your boots and jeans and come have a good time. At rodeo at the Rotary. No. Rotary at the rodeo.
Yay.
By the way, we're available for birthday parties and any corporate events. Just contact my manager.
Thank you, Brenda and Ed. And as he said, they are on tour, everybody. Thank you both. Now we have a special grant award presented by Mr. Mike Baylor, owner of Michael R. Baylor CPA.
Okay, today we're providing a grant of $1,500 to Braver Together, and accepting that grant is Sean Lassiter. Braver Together focuses on the community that includes the 76104 zip code. And until they submitted a grant, I didn't know what they did, and I learned that that particular zip code has the what's the lowest longevity of any zip code in the state of Texas. And so their raison d'etre is to make things better for members of that community in 76104. So accepting this gift is Sean Lassiter.
Thank you, Mike, and congratulations, Sean. We're glad you're here with us today. Now, to continue with our grant awards and share with you how Rotary awards directly impact our community, we have a Grants in Action update. Please help and welcome Karen Derrick, Chief Development Officer, Community Healthcare of Texas.
Thank you, President Rebecca. Close your eyes. Imagine you're sitting in the hospital with your mom, your daddy, your wife, your son. The doctors come in and explain she's being discharged to hospice care. You're trying to process it all. In your thoughts, I have limited time with my mom, daddy, whoever. Then they tell you the hospital equipment, the bed, different supplies will be delivered in about 3 hours. Panic sets in. You realize you have to clean a room. You have to go buy these certain size sheets. You don't have those. What about gloves? What about adult briefs? What about all these things that are needed? But most of all, as you hold her hand, you think about the memories you still want to make and cherish. Every minute scrambling for supplies like that feels like moments stolen. And then that's the reality faced by people in Fort Worth and the surrounding counties every single day, and people in this room. Thanks to the Rotary Club of Fort Worth, this burden is lightened for so many families. Your $5,000 grant was a spark, the catalyst to launch our supportive care packages programs. These packages include essentials like twin extra large sheets, disposable adult briefs, gloves, memory items, thumbprint kits, stories to help, tools to help families capture those moments that you don't want to lose in that limited time, knowing you have 6 months or less. And you never want to leave their side. Since the program began, others have joined the mission. The Mansfield Women's Club, businesses like Park Place dealerships have contributed their funds, many individuals, faith communities, and others. These care packages provide relief and compassion at the life's most vulnerable times. So over 200 packages have been delivered so far. It took us a while to get going, and we delivered those, and many thanks to you. And I would be remiss if I didn't invite you to continue this ripple with your company's civic group or faith community in donating or keeping this program going. But thank you to the Rotary Club of Fort Worth for making this happen and to giving comfort at a time when people are really facing a reality that's difficult.
Karen, thank you for sharing. We appreciate you making the time to join us today and share this special moment. Everyone, this is what your additional contributions financially to our endowments can make a difference in how we impact our community. You can do that any time of the year, or you can also add additional funds when you're renewing your dues. So we appreciate that. We wouldn't exist as a membership without our members and those contributions so that we can give back to our community. Speaking of members, we have a new Blue Badger today who's completed his acts of service. Congratulations to Mr. Dick Dumbald. If you please come right up here. I have your blue badge.
Thank you.
Congrats, Nick. We're glad you're here. We also had an orientation with new members this week, so we'll be seeing some more of those red badges come out very soon. Now it's my pleasure to introduce our chairperson of the day, Mr. Don Marable, Financial Advisor with Edward Jones. Don, the mic is yours.
Howdy. Howdy. That's pretty good. Let's try one more. Howdy. Howdy. There we go. Now we're talking. So pleased to introduce today Mr. Cameron Kovac. Cameron is the Vice President of Ticket Sales for PBR. He's joined here by his colleague Kent Fulkerson. We were talking about it before. if NASCAR and WWE got together and had a baby, it'd probably be PBR. Because if you haven't been, it's some exciting stuff. We've got, here in town, we've got the Rattlers, which is a team version of PBR. If you haven't been to the Coliseum to see it, you really need to go. It truly is a spectacle. It's very entertaining. It's very family friendly, and it's just a lot of damn fun. So without further ado, Cameron.
Thank you. So who here has been to one of our shows, a PBR show? Raise your hand. Great, awesome. Just a little bit more background about myself. I've worked in the sports industry for about 10 plus years, anywhere from University of Texas to University of Delaware, UTSA in San Antonio, Texas. I worked for the XFL and now UFL with the Arlington and Dallas Renegades. Worked for Ticketmaster, and I was the team president for a baseball team for a few years in South Carolina. So I've kind of been all over. I've been with PBR since April, really bringing my experience in professional sports to PBR, which has really not had that in the past. So it's good. It's good for PBR in general. I don't know if I need to, oh, thank you, clicker. Perfect. So what I'm gonna do today is just talk about PBR, our company in general, what we do a lot, and there's a lot going on just in general, and the different facets of our business. So we have two different ends of our business. We have PBR Core, which is our tour, which is more of a traditional bull rider versus bull rider, right? And just highest score wins. That's our Unleash the Beast tour, and that's our Velocity tour. Unleash the Beast is our primary tour, so that's the top 40 riders going head to head, and our Velocity tour is our secondary tour. So as you can imagine, bull riding is not for everyone, right? Who here wants to ride a bull? Probably nobody, and if you do, I have to get you checked out. So there's an effort to get new bull riders, right? So how do we do that? We do our Velocity tour. We actually run weekly shows at Cowtown Coliseum as well. We actually hired a VP of rider outreach whose job is literally to go out there and find new riders for us, whether it's going to, different sports. So think like gymnasts, think like wrestlers, think everything, and I guess convince them to jump on a bull, right? So we also have some other events, including we're partnering with the Fort Worth Stock Show this year, which is huge for us. First time ever. We partner with the National Western in Denver. We have shows at Cowtown Coliseum, like I said, weekly. The Stockyards. So PBR, we've been around for about 32 years. We started in Colorado. We were in Pueblo, Colorado for about 20 plus years. Just recently in May, we moved all of our operations to Fort Worth. So we actually, our headquarters, thank you. Our headquarters is actually in the Stockyards. We're right across from the Drover on Mule Alley. I welcome everybody here. If you want to come see our office, please do. Still very much a work in progress. We're still building out some stuff, but we're all there. There's about 60 plus employees, including our CEO, Sean Gleason, myself, and several other execs. So as you guys can see, that shows that we see a lot of value in DFW in general. And what's better than the Stockyards, right? The birthplace of cowboys, right? Which fits us very, very well. And we're looking forward to making Fort Worth our home for the indefinite future. And then I just put that line at the end. We run 200 plus events a year across the country. To give you an idea, this weekend we're in Houston for UTB. We're in Bakersfield, California, and we're in Charleston, West Virginia. Last weekend we were in Chicago and 2 other spots as well. So we are everywhere and anywhere in the United States. And we also have PBR Canada, we have PBR Australia, and we have PBR Brazil. So not only domestically, but we are everywhere. The tour. So as I mentioned, Unleash the Beast, that's our premier tour. That's the top 40 bull riders. We started our tour in November. It started in Tucson. It's going phenomenal. We sold out Madison Square Garden 3 straight nights. Not many people do that. We sold out Chicago at the Allstate Arena the following weekend. It's around 5 straight sellouts, which is phenomenal. the Western lifestyle and the Western kick. We call it the Yellowstone effect. Cole Hauser, if you guys watch Yellowstone, is actually a voice for PBR. We actually work with him, as well as Neil McDonough, if people know that name as well. It's huge right now, right? And we see that here in Fort Worth. We see that as a company. People want to wear cowboy hats and wear boots, and in New York City, it's more playing cowboy for a weekend, right? And I think that's why we do so well. We're in Houston this weekend for Unleash the Beast, and then we're in Pittsburgh, and then Sacramento, and then Salt Lake City, going all over the country. Velocity Tour, like I mentioned, that's our secondary tour. The finals for that tour is actually in Corpus Christi in May. And I'll get to where the Unleash the Beast finals is in a bit here. And then Challenger Series is an extension of Velocity when we run even more events in the summertime. And the championship for that one's in Las Vegas. So World Finals. So the Unleash the Beast World Finals is here in DFW. Like I mentioned earlier, we moved all of our operations here. This is also a big component of that. We have 9 performances in 2 weeks. So it's a lot of events. 6 of them are at Cowtown Coliseum, which, if you guys have never been to Cowtown Coliseum, I highly recommend it. It's awesome. They've renovated it from over the years. Our events in particular, you can come see the top 40 bull riders in a venue that seats 2,000 people. Crazy, right? Crazy awesome. So we have 6 performances down there, and then the following weekend, we're at AT&T Stadium in Arlington. We start on Friday with Kid Rock's Rockin' Rodeo, which we had our first rendition of that last year. Went phenomenal. We sold, I think, 22 to 25,000 tickets for it. No bull riding, oddly enough, at that event, because the bull riding's on the Saturday and Sunday. But it's more of a traditional rodeo. We have 7 different disciplines. Each team is headed up by a rodeo legend, and a lot of the PRCA, I'll call them heavyweights, like the best rodeo athletes in the country, come in and perform, and then Kid Rock has a concert at the end. Last year, Kid Rock had Jelly Roll with him as well, so it was a really big event, a really awesome event. This is year 2 going into that, and then Saturday and Sunday is our championship rounds. So the top of the top, the winner gets $1 million in the gold buckle. I mean, it's serious stuff. So. And these guys they've been scrapping all year to get that opportunity to get that gold buckle on that Sunday on May 18th at AT&T Stadium. This is a video. I don't know if we can get it running, but if not, that's fine. Not running, okay. It links off. Do you have an internet connection on it? If you just click on it. Just want to give you guys an idea. It's a teaser for World Finals.
If you don't have chills after watching what just happened, he gets it! 95 points!
Thanks. Pretty awesome, right? That's here. That is here. That was here last year. That's here this year. And we welcome all you guys to come, please. Other and special events that we have. So I mentioned earlier, we are partnering with the Fort Worth Stock Show this year to do a PBR Last Cowboy Standing, it's separate from Unleash the Beast and Velocity, which have their own point system and rankings. Last Cowboy Standing is its own event. It's kind of like a head-to-head, right? So like you start with 40 and you keep dwindling round by round by round. The great thing, I was talking to Don about this, is you guys are going to get the top of the top, cream of the crop bull riders here at the stock show at Dickies Arena. And like, there's no better. Like, you're going to see the top of the top, and like you can definitely notice the difference even if you don't go to a lot of our events. You can see the difference between John Crimber, who's the world #1, and maybe John Smith, who, backwoods bull riding. So like, it's great. Stockyard Showcase every Thursday at Cowtown Coliseum. We are actually in a joint venture with Cowtown Coliseum with the Stockyards and another company. So we run weekly shows there. They're awesome. We still have the product. We still have like the pyro and the fire and the pomp and circumstance. So that's the core side. So that side of our business has been going for 30 plus years. And that's been PBR up until 2022 is when we introduced a new part of our business, which is PBR teams. So Sean Gleason, our CEO, this was his vision, essentially taking PBR and making it into a team sport. So what do I mean by that? Essentially what teams is, it's a 5-on-5 format and then highest aggregate score wins. So we have 10 teams all over the country. They're actually all owned by individual owners as well. We have the Ridge Riders, which is in Glendale, Arizona. We have the Austin Gamblers, who are in Austin, obviously, and they actually won the championship this past year. Carolina Cowboys are actually owned by Richard Childress Racing. Austin Dillon is their GM. If anyone follows NASCAR, Austin Dillon's a pretty popular NASCAR guy. Florida Freedom, they're out of Fort Lauderdale. Kansas City Outlaws, Missouri Thunder, they're in Springfield. They're owned by Johnny Morris, who owns Bass Pro. The Nashville Stampede, they play where the Nashville Predators play. The New York Mavericks, who are actually out of UBS, which is where the New York Islanders play, which people might think like New York and PBR. It's like, we kill it in New York. MSG sold out 3 straight nights. Oklahoma Wildcatters, Oklahoma City. Their head coach is JB Mooney. So if anybody follows the space, JB Mooney is the most popular bull rider we've had. $7 million career earnings. Very, very popular name in our industry. And then the Texas Rattlers, who are the hometown team. That's your guys' team. They play at Dickies Arena. They won the championship 2023. And that season culminates in Vegas. So Vegas has been a big part of PBR's past as well. We used to have World Finals, which is now here in DFW, was in Vegas. Teams Championship is in Vegas now. So it's at T-Mobile Arena at the end of October, and that's a picture of Austin. So it's funny, like, you know, Stanley Cup for NHL, Super Bowl has the Lombardi Trophy. We have a big buckle, right? Like, that's our trophy, is a gigantic buckle, and we put the team's logo on the middle. We'd love to take any questions, or if anyone, yeah.
So what brought you to Fort Worth?
Myself personally, or PBR?
PBR.
I think, like I mentioned earlier, Fort Worth has been great. Like, we brought World Finals down here in 2022, and like I mentioned, like, what's better than PBR and Fort Worth? I mean, it goes hand in hand. The Stockyards is the birth of the American cowboy, right? Like, that's perfect for us. And I think moving ourselves to Fort Worth from Pueblo, Colorado is just also just logistically way, way better. So we're looking forward to being here, hopefully forever. I know Sean feels that way.
Yeah, on the, I haven't been to the Velocity, but I have been to your bank, like, Anthem.
Yeah.
Really, really tough. Are the bulls more reasonable on the other tours?
They are. That's a good question. Yeah, no, UTB, sorry? So he was asking if essentially Unleash the Beast, like, are the bulls tougher than like the secondary tour or like the weekly show, which they are, yes. Our head stock contractor, he loads UTB with some of the meanest on the field. These bulls are like stuffed animals, and like a lot of them, like, you can go up and like actually pet, oddly enough. But yes, like Manhater, who's our #1 bull right now, like, he's a UTB bull. But some of the other ones that are, like you mentioned, like more reasonable, which they can tell just based on how they buck, yeah, they'll put them on like the bottom tour and keep like because you don't want to get to a situation where you're putting a rider who should not be on one of those, like a Manhater, like, that's a bad idea. Like, that's not going to end well for the rider, for sure.
40 guys that tour for 6 months, are they on salary of some kind, or are they doing, like I understand, regular rodeo competition, meaning that, man, I pay an entry fee and what happens next?
yeah, so on Unleash the Beast, they're independent contractors. Yeah, so teams is more like a traditional team, like they are on a payroll when they join a team. But for the Unleash the Beast, it's independent contractor. So yeah, no salary. I mean, there's obviously there's a big amount of pool of money to win. I think the prize pool is like 130K an event or somewhere in that range. And if you win the World Finals, like you win $1 million. So I think that's the.
How do you get from the minor leagues to the major leagues?
Good question. So by winning events. So like if you start winning velocity, as we get into the tour starting in January, there comes in a cut line. So the bottom 5, so top 40, the bottom 5 actually get cut. And then we look at velocity and we bring up essentially the top 5. So like if you go on the velocity tour and you start making some noise and start winning some events, you can qualify for Unleash the Beast. And adversely, if you're on Unleash the Beast and you're not doing so well, you might get basically dropped and have to go to velocity to win your way back.
Just checking on the other side.
Oh, anyway.
Have you noticed any adverse effect against the traditional rodeo circuit by this area of rodeo going up so much?
Adverse effect, how, like?
Well, is it detracting from the traditional circuit, or is it actually making it more enticing for people to do the traditional, like Fort Worth and Houston?
Yeah, I think we very much like live in harmony with it. We have a lot of our guys do both. Like some of our guys were at NFR in October, the finals for the rodeo circuit. And I think what we've noticed is with the addition of teams, we're seeing a lot of the PRCA. PRCA is basically the rodeo body, right? You have PBR and you have PRCA. A lot of the PRCA guys are actually coming over, and like Sage Kimsey is a PBR rider now. He was a big PRCA guy. Josh Frost is actually on a PBR team. He won NFR. So I think it's like we're living in harmony. I think also with Kid Rock, Rock and Rodeo, like during the stock show, there's 2 nights of bull riding, and then one night's actually a Kid Rock qualifier for our event at the stock show. So there's a lot of partnership, right? I mean, like there is some competition there, but I think we can live in harmony and everything's fine in the same ecosystem.
2 questions. First, can you talk about the use of helmets in the sport? And then second, can you talk about the insurability, both health and life, of the riders?
Very high premiums. Yes, so I'm not quite, I don't have the exact year. So you have to be born after a certain year, and then you have to wear a helmet. I think it's like either 93 or 97 or somewhere in that range. So essentially they put in a rule, and I think it's their effort of grandfathering in the past folks, because there's some guys that still don't wear helmets, like the older folks, like a Lucas Divino. He won New York City this year for us. Yeah, and those guys are a little bit, yeah, maybe. I mean, I would wear a helmet for sure, but they also wear like a vest as well, just to protect themselves. There's a lot more safety elements than like back in the day when you're like PBR back in like 98, like when they're just wearing what I'm wearing, jumping on a bull, Yeah. Honestly, not. That's way out of my purview, but yeah.
Follow-up to that, what is the ratio of injuries?
A lot of injuries, unfortunately. No, I think this year it hasn't been too bad. I think, there's been a guy getting banged up here or there. I think the important thing is we have a really good team of, they call them bullfighters. They're basically like a safety team of 3 guys. So essentially there's 3 bullfighters, and he's actually a cowboy on a horse down there to help with the bull. So when the guy gets bucked, these 3 guys, they intervene to get the bull away from the rider and protect him at all costs. So that cuts down a lot of injuries, just because it reduces the the guy getting stomped on or whatever, which, so they get in there and they get him away. So we've had a couple injuries this year, but really I can only think of one or two, honestly, so far. This tour. Yeah, good point. Love that, yeah, good point. So this touring season, so since November, so the Unleash the Beast, we've had about, I want to say like 7 or 8 weekends. That's about probably like 15 events. And I think we've had I know we've had one guy who's out for the year. He like broke his leg or femur. But other than that, like you have a couple guy gets banged up here, but comes back the next week. Like nothing too bad.
This side? Anybody on this side?
So the Rattlers won the national championship 2 years ago,
Yeah.
and not so well last year.
Yeah.
So what are we gonna do this year?
Hopefully win.
Who's our top athletes?
Yeah, so the Rattlers, Brady Fielder is one of their top guys. He's an Australian guy. He actually won our event in Chicago last weekend, so he's doing phenomenal. And then they also have a guy named Daniel Keeping who's really good as well. So the Rattlers are set up. The Gamblers, we like to look at the Gamblers as the New York Yankees as PBR teams because they just go out and basically sign a bunch of old world champions. So that's why they were in a good position to win last year. But you never know, right? Like it's bull, right? Like if you get hot, you're hot, right? And so when we go to Vegas and I think for 2 straight years, I know when Nashville won our first year, they were in last place coming into the final weekend. They got hot, they won. So and Austin was in first place and they didn't win. So it's very much if you have the momentum on your side and you're hot, like your team's going to do good. So hopefully, obviously I got to stay biased. I'm at the league office, but between this group, I hope the Rattlers win. So.
I think there's a frequent misconception about the way that animals are treated. Can you talk some about how these animals are literally pampered?
Yeah, thank you for bringing that up, Don, because that's a big thing that comes up with everything that I do, especially. There's and we get a lot of protesters, right? In some of the cities we go to, think like LA or some in the Northeast. Put it this way, these bulls, they're athletes, right? Like they are the athletes of our sport, very much so, them and the riders. And our stock contractors, they treat those bulls like kings. Like these are pampered animals and they are treated very well. And there is no animal abuse happening at all. Like these bulls are prized possessions of these stock contractors. A stock contractor is essentially someone who owns bulls, right? And yeah, they're treated very, very well. And I saw that firsthand. I was like, wow, this seems like a good life.
Well, how much would the bull like man-hater even go for?
Oof, I don't even, a lot. Probably, 6 figures at least. I mean, a lot of money, yeah.
Okay, 2 questions. Are there any women in this sport? Do the bulls ever get injured?
So no women bull riders. I don't know. If you're signing up, I can make some phone calls. We're in Houston tonight. Yeah. I don't know, but to that point, just to bring it back, PBR, we actually own Women's Championship Rodeo. We own a women's rodeo company, which actually their finals are actually the week of our world finals. It's not really as widely known, which I think that's going to change as we grow and develop, because we actually run a lot of their finals during our world finals at AT&T. So I know we have a huge stake in women's rodeo in general. And then you asked if bulls ever get hurt. Was that the second question? Yeah. So yes, unfortunately, sometimes they do. It's pretty rare. And if they do, we have vets on site everywhere we go, and they're treated very, very well.
What about I think I know the answer to this. Kids from the high schools, things like that. Are we all involved in anything like that? Because I know that's kind of where they come from, right?
Yeah, we always have good relationships with FFA, 4-H. And then there's there's like youth bowl, right, that like to get kids into it. Not really too sure our relationship with high schools in general. I think we are trying to form a relationship, I think we already do, but with like national FFA and get more in tune with them. Like I think myself will be going to their national conference next year. So, but yeah, you're right. That's a big part of it, is getting them essentially young and like, building them up, because a lot, like our number one bull rider in the world is 19 years old, right? So they start really young.
I think I know the answer to this. Joe, no, bull or longhorn. No.
Yeah, they're not. No, are you asking if there's any longhorns that participate? No, yeah, their bulls are different, yeah. Yeah.
During tabletop, we were discussing how most rodeo events relate back to jobs on the ranch. Who was the first cowboy to get on the bull?
Great question. Yeah.
I recall reading about all the dirt being struck in and how it had to be done in the middle of the night in New York.
Yeah, great question. And we have probably one of the best we have one of the best production teams out there. Because you're right, they're coming into like an MSG, which is 5 stories up, right? And we get our dirt from New Jersey and we truck it in for an overnight load in, bring in the dirt. It's like a 12-hour process. So yeah, we do that everywhere we go. We have to bring in dirt. There's a lot of shows where we have to do overnight loadouts or overnight load-ins, and our production team works very, very hard. Luckily, Cowtown Coliseum, our weekly shows at the Stockyards, already has dirt down, but a lot of these other like NBA and NHL arenas, yeah, it takes a lot of work. And there is a video out there, I encourage you guys to look it up, with a time lapse of MSG and bring in all the dirt. Just awesome to see like all that take place.
So before my current career, I was a journalist and I covered PBR.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
Yeah, so that was one of the highlights, but this was during the Las Vegas finals here.
Yeah.
And Bushwhacker and all those.
Yeah.
But over the years, what I've seen is there's new entities coming in and putting money into the PBR.
Yeah.
And now there's even more entities coming in and really wanting to make PBR as big as, soccer and football
Yeah.
and stuff like that. What's the mentality of the Cowboys? And the stock contractors too. I mean, it's kind of a chain event. Like
Yeah.
these bulls are now selling for $1 million.
Yeah.
So what's the mentality? Is it just gonna get bigger?
Yeah.
Pushing it?
I see it getting bigger and bigger. So to take a step back, PBR, we're owned by Endeavor. So I'm sure people have heard of Endeavor. It's a very large company. We are actually getting acquired by TKO, which TKO owns WWE and UFC. Obviously, like that's huge for us because WWE and UFC are doing very well right now, and they see the value in PBR. And let's face it, the Western lifestyle it hasn't reached its peak. I mean, it's going like this, and these cowboys are going to become, more and more of like a rock star, right? And we're getting a lot more younger riders who, the older riders don't embrace that stuff. The older cowboys, they think it's like, like a JB Mooney or like a Cody Lambert, they're not into that. But the younger guys, like a John Crimber, who's the world #1, a Marco Rizzo, they have personality for that, and they love that, and they love the attention. I think that's just going to help the sport. And with teams, we have 10 teams currently. That's just current. That's going to grow, and each team is owned by, to your point about money coming in, it's owned by an individual owner. So you have 10 different, essentially, billionaires that want to see success in this as well. So they're going to help as well. And then, of course, we have, as a company, have a lot of corporate partners like Monster Energy, Ariat, who see a lot of value in this as well. So it just seems like we are just on the up and up, and this thing's just going to keep going, for sure. Yeah. Yeah, one last.
Give the TV contract.
We did, well, we take a step back. So we have a deal with CBS for some of our business. We had a deal with a company called Merritt Street, which is a upstart TV company. Unfortunately, some things happened with that, and that's no longer present. So we are currently shopping our TV rights. I know that's what Sean Gleason, our CEO, is doing currently. But in the meantime, we are essentially putting our stuff out everywhere. So like YouTube, Pluto TV, just to get as many live and free for all type of mentality, while we currently look for that TV deal, which I feel very confident that's going to be coming very soon, before Teams for sure. Awesome. Thank you.
Just a moment, Cameron. Cameron, thank you so much. Okay, a couple of things. All right, I'm trying to envision pampered bulls. So man killer, man killer, man hater, he gets a pedicure. Trying to envision this, great. And I think we need some Team Texas Rattlers swag. What do you think, everybody? So we can start supporting our own local team. Thank you so much for being here today. We appreciate it. I do think you'll have a few more questions afterwards if you have a few minutes. And for your time today, we want to share our appreciation for your time being here. We've made a contribution in your name to the Rotary Plus Center.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Just a few closing announcements, everyone. Thank you all for making the time to be here today. Our first Rotary Club meeting of the year 2025. We want to start by recognizing our past president, Gordon Boswell, who always contributes by this beautiful floor arrangement from Gordon Boswell Flowers. We have a finance committee meeting today at 1:15, very exciting. Anybody that does have anything else to do, 1:15, Rotary office. Don't forget to get your rodeo tickets before they're all gone. Check with Aurora. And next week, January 24th, you won't want to miss because we'll have the Texas Rangers Baseball Club. That's right, Janet. Everyone, have a great weekend. We are adjourned.